the semester started, its fall displacement just came out the weekend, literally the weekend of displacement coming out. I was looking for another project to do, and so I wrote this very short thing. It wasn't like a script, it was just like basically like a short story that had no dialogue at all. It's just a guy and a girl having their last evening together on a boat ride. And then the next day, I read that a friend of mine from high school, Beth Carter, had passed away. She got hit by a truck. And, you know, as soon as I heard that, I knew that what I'd written the day before was no coincidence. So I presented it to David. He was like, let's do it. And I was like, if we're gonna do this, I wanna bring Michael on, I wanna bring Alex on, and I wanna make this a real crew and really put a lot of effort into this.
Michael was an obvious choice because we knew that he'd be an awesome producer because he's so organized and he just has everything together. He just, like, Connor and I like to think we're fairly organized, but on no level are we anywhere near as organized as Michael. Then Connor decided to bring on Alex for as a producer also, and Alex did amazing. He was also super organized. He helped us get through out on the lake, and he helped us in pre-production a lot, and in casting and finding out who would be doing our BTS, which was Bailey Tingle. And Bailey got the best BTS footage I've ever seen. So seeing that now, you see the shot? We're there.
Writing the script was really quick because I already knew the story and already knew what it was, since I'd just done it the day before. So the next day I just rewrote it into a script. And then I immediately sent around Michael and Alex, and I was like, let's make this. They were on board immediately.
David and Connor approached me and were like, hey, do you want to work on this thing that we're doing in Tennessee? And I was like, sure. I've never actually been to Tennessee, so cool, let's do that. And so I was a producer for it. We drove up one weekend, and we just made the product that you saw.
Connor had contacted me and was telling me about this script that he was writing for one of his classes, and he wanted to dedicate it to Beth Carter. The film in a whole is dedicated to Beth, but also Nathan Leal. He unfortunately passed away close to when we actually started filming, so it was rather new.
We just had a really nice crew for this. It was just like the four of us, just as a crew, were very, very solid. We really worked off each other well. And then there was casting, and casting's always really interesting because I really, especially when you're doing a silent film, because it really isn't, you know, it's not about speaking, it's about presenting emotion through just visuals. So I went with Josh Miles and Ben Curol. I was really happy with the way that they worked together, and they were a lot of fun to work with, you know, bringing two people together, and by the end of the day they were best friends. It was just really great to see.
I was watching the Florida Gators football game, and I got a message from the director, Connor Rentz, and he said, would you like to be in a movie? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't even look at the script or anything until like after I said yeah, because that's my way of doing things.
Ben is someone I've known for a while. We were acting on stage together in The Little Mermaid, one of the 3 times that I did it. And I hadn't worked with her in a film before. I don't think she'd ever done a film before. But I thought that it'd be a comfortable environment because Josh is just a very friendly guy.
They had never met each other before, and they just had like this awesome chemistry, and it was really cool to see that on screen, and it played out perfectly.
And it was just like this wonderful way to just immerse her right into the process. And I have been very fortunate to have a lot of people who have never done this before come in and feel very welcome and feel very comfortable with this very intense and kinetic process.
Filming was fun. I mean, Ben and I had a good time. Like, we immediately had the chemistry and stuff. Like, within the first 5 minutes, we were downright mean and sarcastic to each other, but that just added to it. And then there weren't really any challenges. I mean, having to row a canoe out into the middle of a lake and then the paddle breaking on you.
We didn't have as much time as we wanted, and we were still only working with an hour for the first scene. Beyond that, the only other big issue was whenever the motor stopped on the pontoon, my heart sank. I really thought we were just going to be stranded out there, so I was ready to fish. I was ready to go. I was ready to survive.
There's so many things happening at once in so little time and so little space, because it was literally, I'd be standing on the edge of the pontoon talking to David about the shot and what he wanted to do and what I wanted to do, and which was the same thing. And I'd be like, Ben and Josh, just do what you're doing because you guys are wonderful. And then I'd duck under the jib and talk to Michael, and it's like, what do we need to do? And he's like, this, and this. And I'm like, great. And then I'd run back over and I'm like, David.
We had a lot of trouble with lighting. At first we were going to kind of have them walk, it was going to be more symmetrical with them walking away from the camera. And that wasn't working out lighting wise. So then we ended up changing it with what we have now with the dolly right. Was it right? Left.
My phone ended up running out of space because that's what I was using to film behind the scenes. So I had to get move some pictures over to a cloud to get them off my phone.
Huh? Academy. Oh, okay. Challenge-wise, it was when Connor told me that he got a phone call from the Academy. They were wanting to award Benna and Josh. So I had to get in touch with them. And I don't think we got their awards yet, but we're working on it. Honestly, I think this was my favorite project that I've done with Connor. It was short, but it was sweet and to the point.
With the message of the fact that it was made for two people who are now deceased, and the fact that this story is so human and so real and so raw. And that moment, that last moment with the improv head kiss, it's beautiful. And how well that music worked. It's a poetry in a way. And I fell in love with Boat Ride.
For me, the music alone just almost brought me to tears. It was very special, it's a beautiful project, it really is.
It was just so real. And everyone had come so close just in the course of filming this one day. It just was kind of surreal. It was exactly what I wanted, but at the same time I was like, I never expected this.
I took away just that even though someone's gone, they're still there, because in the final shot, it's my character looking at the pictures of Benna, and like that, like, because she just drove away, that shows that even though someone's gone at the present, it means that they're still there in your heart, or you'll see them again. And I think that the families can just like feel that sense of like connection, like, because they're not alone in this, and that there's a bunch of people who are feeling the exact same way that they are.
Just seeing the final product really blows me away. And knowing that it wasn't just something that we made just to get views and like get people to notice us, and it was for Katie, Beth, and Nathan Leal. And it's really nice to like kind of give something to them.
So the day of shooting was surreal, and the editing was surreal. So is there any thoughts on just everything in general? Was there any crazy coincidences?
So, so I got a message from a friend of mine named Troy Long. He did the wonderful mockumentary Will Besh Makes a Movie, and has also helped out with audio on Displacement. And he sent me a little message, and he's like, hey, I go to Leal University, and I just think this would interest you. Ben Burt is going to be at our school tomorrow for a seminar. And if you don't know Ben Burt, he did the sound design for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and I have been watching him in documentaries and interviews since I was like 7. So this was someone that I really looked up to for sound design and editing and just making films in general. He was just a guy that I totally admired all of his work and essentially studied him. He was one of my middle school, high school film professors, if you will. And as soon as he told me that, I was like, I'm leaving to go up there right now. And that's not even, I actually am. We're gonna go see him. And it was just a total coincidence that it was the same weekend, the same day that we were in Tennessee, that we'd be there, and Bert would be there, and it was mammoth. And we actually tried to go to the seminar, but it was full by the time we got there. Of course, Ben would reassure me on that later, that would be okay. As soon as the seminar were over, you had all the students who were just like, I just had to go for class. So they all just scattered. And, you know, there are just a few people left in there, and Alex and I walked into the auditorium, and there he was. That's the guy. And, you know, he had a guy with him, like a manager or something. He was like, okay, we need to get out of here, we need to go. And Ben just kind of stops, and he's like, you know what, I just want to stop and take some pictures with some people. We'll do that real quick. And I was one of the people that got to get a picture with him. I think I was the last one, actually. I think Alex and I were the last ones that got to do that. And as I was taking Alex's picture, and then I get the phone to Alex take a picture, I was just like, yeah, I'm a huge fan, and watching you for years, you know, films are not released, they escape, wonderful stuff. And he looked at me and he was just like, well, this just would have been a repeat in this seminar. And I was just like, wonderful guy. And then we got a picture, he has my name, shook my hand. We're walking out of the auditorium at the same time, held the door open for him. Very bizarre, wonderful experience. And I was like, this is a wonderful good luck charm. I think this tells me that we're gonna have a wonderful film and a great day of shooting, if there weren't already any other indications. Yeah.
Oranges.